Welcome to Bible for Modern Minds podcast.
Honestly, it gives this stunning look behind the curtains of extreme wealth and power.
It really does.
This deep dive is based on the detailed personal account of Amamira Hassan, a woman who had the kind of status, the kind of security most people can only dream of, but she called it a gilded cage.
And it's just an incredible story of sacrifice. Amamira was a Saudi heiress, and our mission today is really to distill her narrative. You know, the intense cultural pressure, the extraordinary internal transformation she went through, and the staggering cost of choosing her conscience over comfort.
And that cost is quantifiable. You are going to hear the true price of freedom.
Absolutely.
So let's set the scene, because you really need to understand the scale of her life, of her imprisonment, to get it. Amamira grew up in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Right, and her family didn't just have money, they were like a foundational pillar of the Gulf's whole economic structure. Her father owned one of the largest real estate development companies in the entire region.
So we're talking properties in Dubai, Kuwait, Bahrain.
London, you name it. The family home in Riyadh was a 12-bedroom palace. I mean, a place so huge it needed 6 full-time gardeners just to manage the grounds.
Wow.
And she was the youngest of 5, the only daughter, and highly, highly educated. Spoke Arabic, English, and French.
And she was brilliant. She graduated first in her class,
Yes.
right? And she had a clear path forward. She was accepted to Princeton for her master's degree.
Yes.
But this is where that gilded cage suddenly shrinks. The moment she wants to use that education to, gain some independence, she just hits a wall, a hard wall.
She does. Despite all the money poured into her schooling, her father immediately denies her permission to study abroad. His reason was, that a woman should stay close to her family. He was terrified the West would fill her head with what he called dangerous ideas about feminism and individualism.
Dangerous idea, so her role was already fixed.
Completely, and it did not involve an independent life.
So she's already boxed in. But the real blow, the one that changes everything, it lands at a family dinner. She describes this scene in such detail. The 30-person table, the smell of roast lamb.
Right, she said it always felt like a board meeting.
Exactly. And this was the night her entire future was announced. Not discussed, just announced. Her father stands up at the head of the table, and it's clear this isn't about love. It's a corporate declaration.
It was a massive corporate consolidation, a merger. She was being married to Sheikh Abdullah.
And this merger was between her family's company, the Hassan Development Company, and the Al-Zari family's construction sector.
Her father literally says they would become unstoppable in the Gulf market. The human element was, it was completely secondary or maybe tertiary because Sheikh Abdullah was actually 40 years older than her own father.
Wait, 40 years older than her father?
Yes, 40 years older than the man who was essentially selling her.
So her value was just a line item on a balance sheet. She was a corporate asset to close a deal. And when she tried to protest,
She tried desperately. She asked, "What does this mean for me?" And her father's response was just a list of things. Security, a house, servants, jewels.
not a life,
Yeah.
a list of possessions.
Exactly. And when she insisted she wanted to finish her master's, he didn't even raise his voice. He just said, "It's already decided. You will marry Sheikh Abdullah. It's your duty."
That word duty, it's used to just erase her. So she goes to the one person she thinks might understand, her mother.
Right. She finds her mother arranging flowers, and Amamira is just weeping. But her mother offers, only resignation. She just says she married Amamira's father at 17 and learned to be content.
And then she says that one devastating line.
You'll get used to it. All women get used to it.
Wow, all women get used to it. That's the sound of generations of quiet despair being passed down. That must have been worse than her father's cruelty.
Oh, absolutely. Because it snuffed out any hope of solidarity. The system was unyielding, and her brothers were no help either. One of them, Omar, actually laughed. Fizel called her selfish.
And Malik, the youngest one she was close to.
He was conflicted, but in the end, he just lowered his eyes and said, "It's our culture."
So she's totally, completely alone.
Completely. And she has to go through with these 2 formal meetings with the sheikh. He was polite, brought her these absurdly expensive gifts.
But he noticed she was hesitant, didn't he? She tried to force a smile and say she just needed time.
She did, and his final line to her was just chilling and how casual it was. He said, "You will have a lifetime to adjust, inshallah."
A lifetime. So outwardly, the wedding plans are moving forward. A dress costing over 200,000 reals, 300 guests invited.
But inwardly, she's collapsing.
Yeah, she was a devoted Muslim praying 5 times a day, observing Ramadan. But now her prayers just felt like shouting into a void.
And that's the crucial turning point, isn't it? The spiritual void becomes the main battleground. She feels suffocated, hopeless. The Allah she'd been taught to fear and submit to, he wasn't offering her any comfort.
But in all that despair, there was this tiny thread of hope she remembered, a phrase from years ago.
Yes, from her old British tutor, Sarah Peterson. When Amamira was a teen, Sarah had accidentally left a Bible behind, and Amamira remembered a phrase handwritten in the margin.
Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest.
That phrase sparked what was a truly unthinkable act, and we have to pause here and stress just how big of a risk this was.
We absolutely do. For her to question her faith, let alone change it.
Yeah.
In Saudi Arabia, that's considered apostasy.
Which, under some interpretations of the law, carries a possible death sentence. This wasn't a risk of social embarrassment, this was a risk of execution.
So her next step is a literal leap of faith. She decided that living imprisoned in that palace was worse than dying. So she gets a VPN and starts searching for a Bible online, in total secrecy.
She starts reading the Gospel of Matthew. And what really strikes her isn't some complex theology, it's the humanity of Jesus, specifically how he treated women.
How he listened to them, respected them, defended them.
Exactly. After being valued as a commodity her whole life, she's reading about women being valued as people. And then she finds the passage that just fundamentally changes everything for her. The sparrows.
Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? You are worth more than many sparrows.
Yes. For her, that was this immediate, visceral contrast to the distant God she was taught to fear. It introduced the idea of a personal, loving God who cared so much that even the hairs on her head were numbered.
A God who cared about her, not just about mergers and duty. That realization must have been a lifeline.
It was. So she joins a secret Facebook group for Middle Eastern Christians and former Muslims using a fake profile. She admits her whole situation, the forced marriage, this feeling that Jesus is calling to her.
And that's where she gets the question that forces the final decision.
A woman from Jeddah replies to her, and the message is just stark. She says, Jesus can save you, but you need to be willing to lose everything. Are you willing to lose everything?
No.
Amamira describes looking around her lavish room at all the gold, the comfort, the 4 million Real inheritance she was about to get. And she types back the 6 words that ended her old life. I'm willing to lose everything.
That's maybe the most profound decision a person can make. 9 days before the wedding, she's on her knees on a Persian rug her grandmother gave her, and she prays directly to Jesus for proof.
And she wasn't asking for a sign in the sky. She was asking for certainty. And the response she describes is this internal thing, a peace so profound it's indescribable, and a voice inside her saying, I've always known you. I've always loved you. Come to me, Amira. Come home.
And she knew she had to go.
But the logistics were a nightmare. Because of the Saudi male guardianship laws, she couldn't just leave the country.
Right. She needed her father's permission.
So this secret network had to get incredibly creative. They had a contact at a charity who could issue travel documents for a fake conference, but it needed her father's signature.
The one man she's trying to escape from.
Exactly. So she spent hours practicing his signature, forges it over and over until she felt it would pass.
The level of deceit required just to be free. It's shocking. So the day comes. What does she take?
A single carry-on bag. That's it. Her passport, some clothes, her phone, laptop, and a photo album of her family.
She left everything else, the diamonds, the dress, all of it.
All of it. And she left letters for her family explaining she'd found faith in Jesus and couldn't marry the sheik. Her plan was to fly to Dubai, then immediately on to Lebanon.
So when she finally lands in Beirut, she's greeted by a network contact, taken to a safe house.
Yeah.
She's physically free, but the emotional fallout, that hits almost immediately.
It does. A message comes through from her father via a cousin, and the message was just brutal.
You are no longer my daughter. You are dead to this family.
We don't look for us again. And the source is really clear that this loss, this complete erasure from her family, it hurt her more than the arranged marriage ever could have.
Of course. She didn't just lose a home. She lost her entire identity. And her inheritance, the 4 million Reals, it was immediately divided among her brothers.
Gone. But George, the man at the safe house, he offered her this profound comfort. He reminded her that even Jesus wept for Lazarus. And he told her, It is human to mourn what is lost.
allowing her to grieve her old life while starting a new one.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about that new life. After Lebanon, she's moved to Paris. The culture shock must have been just dizzying.
Oh, completely. She arrives in Paris with $500 to her name. She's sharing a tiny apartment, struggling with French, and she takes the only job she can find, cleaning offices at 2 in the morning.
Can you just picture that? Amamira Hassan, the heiress from the palace, scrubbing toilets.
It's powerful, but the fascinating part is, she said she didn't hate it. She realized it was honest work, and more importantly, it was hers. For the first time ever, she was working for her own survival. No one controlled her time, her money. That minimum wage felt like more than the 4 million real inheritance, because it came with dignity.
And there's a beautiful poetic irony in what she did next, right? After fleeing this massive real estate empire.
She gets a better job as a receptionist at a small real estate agency, earning maybe 1,500 euros a month. Tiny, but it was pure freedom.
And her education didn't go to waste.
Not at all. She eventually started her own small consulting business, using her background, the languages, her business degree, to help Western clients navigate Middle Eastern markets. Within 3 years, she was making a $50,000 annual profit, building her own empire from scratch.
But the family, that wound was still there. But she did get a secret message, didn't she? From her brother, Malik.
Yes, 2 years after she left. He confessed his regret, his cowardice for not helping her. But he also gave her this incredible insight. She was feeling guilty. And he wrote, "You didn't cause the damage, Amamira. You only revealed what already existed."
That is a truth bomb. She wasn't the problem. She just exposed the rot in the foundation. That must have been so liberating to hear.
It was. And 5 years after leaving, she had a secret video call with her mother. Her mom didn't mention apostasy or scandal. Her only question was, "Are you safe?"
That core maternal instinct.
Yeah.
It just cut through everything else.
It did. And that brings us to the core trade-off. When Malik asked if she ever regretted giving it all up, the palace, the wealth, her answer was just completely uncompromising.
She said, I had the world, Moloch, and I was suffocating. Today I have Jesus, and I have freedom, and I have life, real life. She stands by it, referencing that ultimate biblical trade-off.
What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? She's now 32, almost a decade into this new life. She's bought her own apartment in Paris, but her story doesn't end with just her own success. It circles back.
She now dedicates part of her time to guiding other women in the Middle East who are exactly where she was, trapped between that cultural fear and this growing desire for freedom.
Her painful escape, which her family called a rebellion, she calls it her redemption.
So the big takeaway here is that she paid the ultimate price, her identity, her family name, 4 million reals, but what she bought was peace, grace, and what she calls a shot at real life.
And you know, this story connects back to you, the listener, even if your cage isn't made of gold. I think a lot of us can feel trapped by something, by tradition, by guilt, by expectations, by a life that just seems to suffocate you. Her choice was to lose the external world that was crushing her in order to save her internal one.
And that leads to our final provocative thought. Amamira chose to forgive her family, her father, her brothers, her mother, even knowing they would never understand her choice, and that her relationship with them would always be strained and secret. So if her true freedom required sacrificing the love of her family, what is the ultimate cost of living an authentic life? And what profound personal power does unilateral forgiveness hold when you give it not for reconciliation, but purely for your own inner freedom?
Something potent to mull over until our next deep dive.